Very excited to be talking about this topic today. I know it's not necessarily one of the most sexy topics always, and you can move on to that next slide there, Jared. Um, Death and taxes. Who loves talking about that, right? That is definitely everyone's favorite topic, right? Quick show of hands. How many of you have actually had a donor bring up their estate plans with you without asking? Anyone? Raise your hand or drop it in the chat. Oh, great. Lots of you. That's wonderful. Not always the norm, but I've had people just call me out of the blue and be like, I want to do this. Even people who were not donors before, which isn't always common, but it does happen. And for the rest of us, and as well as those who have already had this opportunity, today is really our day to learn about how to gently make that conversation maybe a little less awkward, right? It can feel sort of awkward to bring up, and that's okay, but we also need to do it, right? That's our job. So I think we focus so much on asking for that immediate support that sometimes we forget to ask people to imagine how they could continue their impact long after they're gone, right? And yet, these are people who have been supporting us sometimes for years and years and would really welcome this conversation, right? So, plan giving is really going to take that death and taxes and make it a tool to support our mission. And how great is that, right? So, um, it's interesting because it can be an intimidating topic, and most of the time, plan gifts are actually a lot more simple than we think. We kind of create them to be sometimes this thing that let's just put it off because I don't fully always understand all the mechanisms, right? Or let's put it off because I've got to focus on my goals here and now. But I think we need to shift our mindset and stop thinking about that legal jargon and only the wealthiest supporters with complex estates, and really think about planting seeds with the people who already care about our missions deeply, right? So that's where we should start. Next slide, please. I want to just give a quick overview of what we're really going to unpack today. First and foremost, we're going to talk about why does planned giving matter? Why should we care about this? We're going to talk through some of the best opportunities for the here and now, right? To have these conversations and what that looks like. We're going to talk a little bit about probably some things that you might need to avoid, and then we'll kind of highlight everything with those best plans for moving forward for a successful program and how you can take one step at a time to move the needle in this space. So, who wants to guess the average bequest size in the US? Anyone? Feel free to unmute or drop it in the chat. Take a guess. Someone take a guess with me. We often say this is the largest gift most people will ever make, if that's a hint. 17,000 I have. Great. Six figures here. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Anyone else care to guess? Anyone else care to guess? 500,000. All really great guesses. Nobody has hit the nail on the head. Through the research we have from Pantera, and this is like really actually has a pretty broad donor sample. 70 to $78,000 is the average bequest gift size in the US currently. So think about that. That is impactful, right? We want to make sure that we are tapping into this. These gifts matter, right? And here's something else that is a little bit surprising to most people. Planned gifts often help people to increase their lifetime giving, right? Lots of times we think, oh gosh, if we get a planned gift, that might just close out their giving. So I might not want to have that conversation yet because this is a really good donor. And so I think that we have to actually realize that oftentimes they're going to give more. Research from Dr. Russell James found that annual giving rose by over $3,000 on average after a planned gift commitment. So that's not insignificant either. This is just part of the journey and part of the relationship. And so by us sort of being that advocate alongside them and helping them do something that they probably wanted to do and suggesting that conversation, we can really help them tap into this, right? So bequests are the most common form, and we know that this is usually the most simple for us to have. So let's move on to keeping it a bit simple and focusing on bequests. Next slide, please. So, a gift in a will or a trust, oftentimes people will designate a percentage of their estate. Sometimes it's a specific amount or a remainder, right? So, we know that um, industry reports estimate that up to 90% of plan giving revenue comes from bequests alone. So, this is important to wrap our head around. How can we have sample language for our supporters that makes it really easy for them to ask, right? For them to act, excuse me. Having that sample language available, it's very simple for them to put it directly into their estate plans, right? That's one thing that we can do if you don't already have some basic sample language. That's a start, right? Um, the conversation I've got here, have you included us in your plans? You can even take a little bit of a step back from that and be like, have you considered what you might do with your estate? And then sort of like, have you considered leaving something for our organization? You have been so supportive over the years. Have you ever thought about a planned gift? Right? And these are all probing questions that are not as direct as like, hey, did you put us in your will? Right? But just sort of having those conversations is something that we have to do, just like we talk about with regular, good old cash and pledges. If you don't ask, you don't get, right? We have to plant the seed. And these conversations are most easily had with people you already have a relationship, that already have a relationship with your organization. But we're missing the boat if we are not simply asking, have you ever considered leaving us or including us in your estate plans, right? We want to have the opportunity to recognize and steward legacy donors now, not later. Let's not keep it a secret. Some people may not want to have that, share that information with us, but most people are going to feel better about knowing that you know and that their plans are going to be, ushered forward and stewarded in the best way possible, right? So it's super simple to focus on bequests. If you do nothing else and you feel really comfortable about that, you're going to be 90% of the way there, right? Let's move on to the next slide. Beneficiary designations. This is an opportunity, right? Retirement assets are a huge opportunity. This is one of the most tax efficient ways for a donor to leave a legacy. And we know that if these accounts go to their heirs, they're subject to income tax. But if they go to a nonprofit, the full value is going to come through. So many people choose this option. There's no need to update a will. They can name your nonprofit as a beneficiary of one of their retirement accounts. And again, we're going to receive that full value. Like that's huge impact. Um, Using that language, it's just a form. That's simple, right? I don't have to go through the process of like talking with my attorney and updating my will. It's just a basic form that they can complete that gives that opportunity. This isn't theoretical. It's backed by the IRS guidance and is emphasized by groups like the National Philanthropic Trust. These are great opportunities. If you are not already tapping into them, we're missing out, right? Next, I'm going to pass it over to Jenna to share a little bit about donor advised funds.
Thank you, Marty. I will just second kind of how she started. Talking about planned giving did not come naturally to me. I was probably not even 30 when I sort of moved into this opportunity as a fundraiser, and it just felt really awkward. And I felt like I'm basically pointing out that you're elderly, right? Or I'm pointing out that you're going to die and you should probably make some plans now. And that That was my fear and mentality moving into these conversations. Go on to the next slide, Jared, please. For me, as a young fundraiser, trying to navigate this landscape with our really loyal, really generous donors, donor advised funds were like the gateway drug, right? I could talk about this in a way that was much more approachable. And it led to, for me, deeper conversations about their long-term planning and their estate plans. It definitely was an easy way for me to sort of dip my toe into the plan giving conversation territory. And again, with everything that we do, we're fundraisers. They know that. So let's be transparent and let's be honest and let's have genuine conversations while we're building these relationships. And I think Marty touched on this, tying it back to supporting the organization, supporting the cause or the program that they have always been supportive and connected to is a great way to talk about how they're building their legacy, right? A donor advised fund is an incredible vehicle for donors both in and after their lifetime. The National Philanthropic Trust tells us that there are more than 1.4 million DAF accounts in the US, and that they are currently holding almost 230 billion with a B in assets. Most of those dollars have not yet been granted. They are waiting for the right organization, the right opportunity, and just a little bit of guidance, right? We need to introduce our donors to the chance to use these funds for the support of the causes they care about. I'd love to see from you guys in the chat, or you can raise your virtual or real hand. Have you ever received a gift from a donor advised fund, but you had no idea who it actually came from? It was like Edwards Jones DAF account, right? Super frustrating. It is a very common challenge. It is also a missed opportunity. Unless it is specifically requested by the donor, the DAF management fund can and usually should tell you who is the donor that directed this gift your way. If you receive one of these, don't give up. Call the advisor, ask them for insight. Unless the donor specifically requested to remain anonymous, they can give you that information. And your goal is to provide stewardship, right? You want to thank them. No, you don't give them tax credit, but you do give them relationship and reporting and communication that can be incredibly valuable. Did you know, because I did not until our friend Mary prepared this information for us, that donors can actually name a nonprofit as the beneficiary of their remaining DAF balance? I think that this is such an important missed opportunity. Again, I've been talking about DAFs for years and I did not know this fun fact. So, if you are receiving annual contributions or recurring contributions from one of your donors through a DAF, start a conversation with them about their plans for that DAF at the end of their life, right? Just simply saying, did you know that you can make our organization the final beneficiary of your DAF? It's one sentence right there. They don't really have to do a whole lot of work. They're not setting up a new fund. They have to name you as the beneficiary. That is real simple work for them to do. Again, it's probably just a form with Edward Jones or whoever manages their fund. Begin that conversation. It allows them to continue that legacy of support long, long down the road. Go on to the next slide. This is where I want to help you stay focused, avoid falling down a rabbit hole of planned gift terms and alphabet soup, right? There are some really complex giving vehicles and they have value, right? They have great purpose. And for the right donor with the right financial situation and a great team of financial advisors, these may be the best path. I never ever had to be an expert in these though, because I was very transparent about that. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a certified gift planner. I want you to work with your team of professionals and do what's going to be the right thing for you and your family. I encourage you to avoid charitable remainder trusts. I encourage you to avoid gift annuities, complex life insurance plans where your organization actually holds the policy and you do not benefit from it until after the donor's passing. That means you are responsible for paying those premiums, right? I worked at a university that did this. Um, they would pay the annual premium on the life insurance policy. In the future, they were going to reap the benefit of that. And then we had to wait for the donor to pay the insurance premium through their donation. It felt awkward. It felt uncomfortable. It felt real cumbersome. And here I am asking you to pay your insurance premium as a donation. Like it just was the most confusing situation, especially for me as a young fundraiser. Avoid those pathways. It's going to be hard for your organization. It's going to be hard for the future you to pick up that relationship and manage those assets. If you don't have a really advanced finance office, it's going to be really difficult. Keep it simple, like Marty said, right? Focus on legacy gift opportunities that are easy to understand, that don't require a really complex legal infrastructure. It's just a form, right? Let's keep it very basic because those are going to be more impactful and they're going to be things that you can get much more comfortable talking about and working into your natural relationship development with your donors. Okay. Keep these kinds of conversations aligned with the relationship you're already building. Again, it's natural, it's a progression in the work that we're doing. Unless a donor brings up a really complex gift, unless they say, listen, I was talking to my advisor and they mentioned a charitable renewity, a remainder trust, um, don't bring it up. Don't tiptoe into that water, because it might be a lot deeper and a lot darker than you're ready to tackle. It's worth learning about down the road if that is the type of development division that you have. If you want to be a subject matter expert, go for it. But for most of us, it is not going to add great value to our organization's daily work. Go on to the next slide, Jared. Again, start simple and stay consistent. Um, there are a few key actions that you can take this month, this week, even to really sort of level up and launch or strengthen your planned gift program. Add these to your to-do list, and I assure you that you will begin to see the benefit of this engagement. Um, Add a legacy giving line to everything that you produce. It can be one simple sentence or phrase. It can be one question. Often on our tax receipts, we see, do we owe you another thank you? Have you included us in your will or estate plan, right? It is like the McDonald's billboard of the highway, right? Or I'm in Texas, so it's the Bucky's billboard. I don't need Bucky's right now. I don't have to stop at a gas station, but I want to know that in 120 miles, there's going to be a Bucky's, right? Adding this tagline to everything that you produce, your website, your donor appeals, your tax receipts, tells me that when I'm ready as a donor, when my family is at that stage where we are planning our estate, where we're writing or updating our wills, you guys have a pathway for me to consider you and to work you into my planning. Again, I don't need that Bucky's right now, but I want to know that it's down the road. I don't need to give you my estate plan right now, but I want to know that I can when I'm ready to have that conversation. The more you make me aware of your ability to accept those gifts, the more likely I will think of you when I am at that decision point in my life. Secondly, I want you to think about looking for loyalty. This is not a conversation about my wealthiest donors, right? This is not a conversation of finding the people with the most zeros behind their capacity rating. Um, Oftentimes, statistically, our very best planned gift prospects are the donors that have been giving 10 or more years, annual contributions like clockwork, right? They're the ones that show up. Your volunteers that have only ever given nominally, they hold you dear to their heart, and they may not be able to build a building in their lifetime, but they can make a transformational gift after their passing. And do not be hesitant to have that conversation with your loyal partners and your loyal donors, planting that seed in their mind through recurring communication, and then thanking them for their consistency and support are great first steps to opening that conversation. Lastly, celebrate their legacy while they're alive, right? Sure, we're going to say great things about them at their funeral, or we're going to send a really lovely card to their family member. But I want to celebrate you and the legacy you've built as a supporter of our organization right now while you're in the room. Um, Asking folks, do I owe you another thank you, right? Recognizing them on their name tag at your events because they're a member of your planned gift society. Listing them on a special honor roll or adding a little indicator. Those are ways that you recognize them. You can celebrate their additional contribution to your organization. It is a stewardship touch that is pretty low cost, and yet it builds community, right? It pushes other people to say, well, wait a minute, why does Jenna have a little asterisk behind her name on the honor roll? I want to go read the footnotes and see what that means. Oh, well, I put them in my will as well. I want to get my asterisk, right? I want to tell the organization that they can add that to my name. These are again really low risk, high return activities. Planned giving does not have to be super complex, but it does require consistency and care, right? We have to be willing to walk into the awkward and to have that conversation with compassion. And we have to be continually messaging the opportunity to support this organization, um, way down the road, right? Has anybody here acted on any of these steps? Have you incorporated this consistency in your program so far? I'd love to hear if anyone has a story of success or can tell us, we got a surprise estate gift that we were able to celebrate in their lifetime. Well, I hope that you will go put this on your to-do list and incorporate it this month. You might be very surprised about the results. When we complete feasibility studies, our surveys always include a question about planned gifts. And 9 times out of 10, we find out that there are individuals supporting our client organizations with an estate plan that they have never told the development director or executive director about. So open that conversation and take the risk. I promise it will be worth it, and you will have a really really good conversation as a result of. Right, any other questions? We are here for you guys. I'll turn it back to Marty.
Yes, if you have questions, please either raise your hand, unmute yourselves, drop it in the chat. I just was going to echo what Jenna was saying. I have lots of conversations with people where I ask that question, whether it's a feasibility study or whether it's some other space that we're doing work in, where I say, have you ever considered leaving a legacy gift? Like, oftentimes it's just a very general question. And most of the time, people are like, huh, actually, I've not ever thought about that. Like, if they haven't already, but sometimes you get a yes, but they're like, I've not thought about that. But actually, I've been putting off going and talking to my attorney, and I need to do some things. And I'm really glad you asked that question. I'm going to push that up on my to-do list. It's something like that. Or it's, well, I feel like I'm starting to get to an age where I do want to think about that. So thanks for planting the seed. Like, it almost always is a seed planted, right? So just think of it in that way, not a actual like I expect someone to say, yes, you're in my plans, or if you kind of go in with the mindset that you're really looking to probe and see if it's a conversation they want to have. If they don't want to, they'll shut you down pretty quickly. Like they'll just say no. And that's fine. Like, don't push then, right? But if you say, have you ever considered this? Do you have want to talk through this with me? You just kind of become that really authentic friend ally for them. And I almost like it better when I don't know all the fancy schmancy words because I feel very, again, authentically like just on their side, helping them seek that goal that they have then, helping them seek the opportunity and what might be best for them and utilizing their trusted advisors, right? So I think it's just if we shift our mindset to that, it becomes a lot less about like, gosh, I can't possibly ask this person. They're going to be mad at me for thinking that they're getting close to death, right? No, it's a very open-ended question that you'll know pretty quickly if they want to have that conversation, right? Let's see. We have something in the chat. Karen, thank you. Talk about working with the finance office who understandably likes current money and thinks it's a waste of time or doesn't want to hear about working with um, real estate or second home with DP made it. Go ahead and unmute if you would like,
Sorry,
Karen.
donated. I got happy fingers.
Okay, thank you. I was like, I'm not sure if I know what that says. Okay,
Uh,
yes.
That was
Well,
supposed to be donated
perfect. Yes.
for someone who wants to donate the retirement home that they can't, that beach house they can't, their family doesn't want it anymore. They've got this great piece of property. I live in Western Pennsylvania. There's a lot of oil and gas kinds of rights.
Mhm.
And they're a little more difficult to deal with for finance offices who just give me the cash.
Right. So are you talking about someone who's trying to make that current gift now, or that they have made a provision in their estate plan for later? Or are you talking about a current, like, hey, I want to donate a house now and in that space?
No, someone who leaves that designation, who arranges it through their estate. They want to continue to,
Yes, got
live
it.
in that house. I know there's more details than just saying I want to leave you my second home in the will.
Mhm.
But those kinds of issues, that stuff that is not cash, that
Right,
valuable clock, that
right, right.
If I
Go ahead,
can,
Jenna. Yes.
sorry, I dealt with this a lot in higher ed. And like people always want to donate a piano, right? Or like that
is
was so
true.
common. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Nobody in the family plays, and it's this beautiful grand piano, and y'all just come pick it up, right? Y'all just come
Right.
pick it up from mama's house because we got to get it ready to sell. And while I understand the intention, I would go back to Karen, do you have a gift acceptance policy? First and
Oh yeah.
foremost,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
does your gift acceptance policy include a clause or statement? Does your gift acceptance committee include a process for acceptance of non cash items?
Oh yes.
Okay, then I think there's like the finance team has to get on board with what's in the policy because that was board approved, right? I also think there's a place for both. And if you have a donor that genuinely cares about you enough to leave you a home or a piece of real property, then they likely, I hope, have had a conversation with you long in advance of realizing that gift. Um, I also think that you have probably had a conversation with them about their lifetime giving, right? And so the hope would be that they're not giving you that later instead of annual cash gifts, that they're giving you both. And so you're meeting finances need for dollars in the door today, but you're also stewarding that long time legacy opportunity in a way that fits within your gift acceptance policies.
Yes, and I have dealt with this a lot too. I just think an under discussed area of in plain giving is working with your finance office because they can make it very difficult or they can make it grudgingly acceptable for these kinds of gifts. So I just wanted you to talk about that relationship. And I know some of that depends on the size of the organization that you're with, because I have found that the finance office can be your best friend in these situations to keep you out of trouble, or they can be your worst enemy, even when the details are all in order and the policies have all been followed. It's, you know, personalities are personalities, and even though the gift acceptance policy says and the gift acceptance committee has says finance offices, there's just some nuances to dealing with that. They like things nice and neat and tidy,
Yeah,
and these kinds of
development is
gifts aren't
not black
always
and
nice
white.
and right. And
Yeah.
and finance is for the
Yeah.
most part. I mean, not always. I exaggerate that.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I think another thing of note, Karen, that can be helpful in that is making sure you do have a planned giving committee where you
Right.
have some experts that you can rely on that can help have those conversations kind of in that same financial world space. Maybe it's a real estate agent, maybe it's a financial advisor, but somebody who can sort of hopefully maybe speak their language a little bit that can assist if it is something that you are accepting, that can maybe cut down, make it a little more efficient for everyone, and help you so that you don't get bogged down in those details. But I think it's a great point. Having a relationship with your finance office is important, and having a relationship with some experts in the field out in the community is important. So a great opportunity to segue into reminding people, that that is something you should put in place if you don't have in place, is those relationships, and a planned giving committee is a great way to do that. So thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions or comments or anything they'd like to share before we head on with our days? All right. Well, we really enjoyed having you all with us today. I hope everyone has an extra to do on their list that's going to help move the needle in this space for them. If you are not already working with us and interested in a conversation, use that QR code. One member of our team would love to chat with you about how we can help.